no one in your family for 200 years has let themselves be angry. Ah, maybe
See,
that's a
that
better
seems
place
like
to
a
look.
realization, and
That's a
that's
realization. That
close to
took
home
years.
for you, and probably for me too.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was something, still 5 years away from this transition that I was making. This transition was just the realization that your reality is incredibly heavily determined by your thinking about the reality. Right now people don't realize it, but 99% of what's going on for them is their thoughts about what's going on, and 1% is actually what's going on. It's very rare that someone has an immediate threat in the environment, but we run like a 5% background threat feeling in our body, and it puts all this distress and dis-ease through the body. And we just take that for granted. So kind of realization number one was like, this is about me. This is about my internal world. It's not about the external world. And the external world that I see is a reflection of my internal thought process. Not actually, like two of us could be sitting next to each other in the same world, but we're not in the same world, because one person's actually seeing the world as it is, and the other person's stuck in their whole conditioned set of trauma. And I use trauma in a lowercase t kind of way, the trauma that everyone has learned, conditioned beliefs and patterns of thinking from their families and from their culture. And as far as I'm concerned, our culture right now is insane. It's so far away from the things that fundamentally connect us as human beings and make us feel authentic and joyful and thriving, that it's an uphill kind of salmon swimming upstream battle to actually find your freedom in that and be able to live it.
I think a lot of people think our culture is insane right now, but I think maybe for different reasons, or maybe people don't know why. I heard Gabor Maté describe a person walking down the street, and if you go to hug them and they would freak out. I mean, of course, because they're a stranger, but like even if you know them, maybe they're not ready for the hug or something. And I might be getting the explanation slightly wrong, but the insight was like, if somebody has like sores all over their body and you went to hug them, they would freak out because it would hurt to touch them. And he's saying like, basically that's what we have, but it's emotional. Like we have all these emotional scars or traumas all over us that aren't healed, that are like open wounds. And so people are constantly emotionally freaking out like that. I feel like I didn't do that justice, but I think I was trying to relate that to what you were saying about our society. Like then multiply that to all the people in our society, and the lowercase t trauma, which means trauma just being regular, and not regular, but being small and large, and society just not even recognizing it, or culture not recognizing it, and us going about our day having a miscommunication with our loved one, and not understanding the emotions behind any of it, and not understanding the drama triangle, and not understanding that we think we're going to get the raise at work and then be happy, not understanding that we just want to be safe and accepted into our tribe or whatever. And then those sores on all of us, leading to this mass insanity of society just being kind of raw and people being at their end, because how else could they be?
It's an amazing thing about how our perceptual system works on a short time scale, where the whole frog boiling in water thing, that's not actually a real thing, but let's pretend it's a real thing. Like that's how our perceptual system works. And when you actually are born into a system that's been making itself insane for thousands of years at this point, and losing all the kind of wisdom from being tribal, indigenous cultures. Even when you started talking about it, I was like, that word stranger didn't exist because you knew everyone that you saw well, and you were tied in life and death with everyone that you saw in your 150 of your tribe. The idea of a stranger is a modern invention. So the disconnection that you feel with a stranger on the street, that's not where we evolved. Obviously there's, tribes over there and that sort of thing, but like that wasn't a part of your day-to-day life. So it's really takes some honest looking at it in the face to question like how insane this world has gotten, and how out of tune and out of coherence with the original needs of a human social monkey. What does that kind of organism need? And now the like touch is the most natural thing for nervous system regulation, and every baby has to learn that from their parents. That's like the only way it gets learned. It's not built into the baby without that circuit being completed. And yet our culture is divorcing itself from that kind of level of touch. And many people grow up in a family where, especially the men, don't believe in non-sexual touch. It's just not part of their being at all.
Or if they believe in it, they don't practice it regularly.
Right, right. It's definitely not comfortable. And, there's a guy, Scott Killaby, who has this really great, easy litmus test for kind of what things am I repressing of my natural experience. And he just says, like, just imagine your family in front of you, and then just go down this list and like anger, grief, fear, joy. Like, would I be fine expressing this in front of all these people? And just like really let yourself picture it, and then go to grief. Would I really be okay with grief at all? And you'll know exactly what's getting repressed. And for me, it's like a lot of stuff was getting repressed, but including things like joy, which is one of the hardest ones to see at first. We have like, it's weird to see someone on the street that's trying to hug everybody, but when you see that person who's really joyous on the street, that's the one you really think is crazy, right? How crazy does your world have to be where that's the thing that gets your eye on the street?
Yeah, you're making me think of like the performance artist Matthew Silver, who's just so joyous on the street, or even someone like Amma, who will hug 10,000 people lined up and give them all a blessing. And I mean, if it wasn't for her saintliness and her organization surrounding her, you would just think she was a crazy person.
Totally. I think it was Krishnamurti who said it is no measure, something like it is no measure of sanity to be able to make it in an insane culture.